because of the high priority from CB8 to set aside a portion of space for arts and light industrial uses, which I'll get into a little bit more. But I just want to make sure that's front and center because we're here in response to that priority. So I know most of you are very familiar with AAMUP, but I'll just briefly note that this is a plan to support housing and job growth, but also support specifically affordable housing, open space, transportation and other types of infrastructure improvements along Atlantic Avenue. In total, we project about 4,600 new homes will be created, 1,900 of which will be permanently affordable, as well as 2,800 jobs, totaling about 800, a little over 800,000 square feet. And as of June, we're really happy to announce that we, together with the support of the community board and their longtime advocacy, as well as the council members, we have secured about over $230 million in total, a mix of capital and programmatic investments, which are now fully published online. So you're welcome to look at those individually and see the stats which will be updated. So again, when we're talking about AAMUP, we're talking about the geography that's along Atlantic Avenue, Vanderbilt Avenue on the west side, extending over to Nostrand on the east side, Oregon Street on the southern boundary. And this is just a map to show that there were 4 main components of AAMUP as far as the land use actions are concerned, so not the money or funding. And that was a zoning map amendment to change the zoning text amendment, which included mandatory constrained housing, but also a special district to address things that the underlying zoning couldn't achieve on its own. And then what we call site-specific actions, those are in yellow. And those are really geared towards how do we get as much affordable housing on city-owned sites as possible. So today we're going to talk mainly about an amendment to the zoning text, which is the focus of the proposed. So geographically, the text amendment affects 2 areas outlined in red. So those are the areas that are mapped in zoning M1, 2A/R68. The M stands for manufacturing district, R stands for residential district. We can get into the details of that, but I just want to make sure that that's really the area we're talking about. And that's the area that we don't have a ground floor non-residential requirement. The dotted line red, yes. So in that geography, the current proposal, what was recently approved, was to allow an additional 1.1 FAR. And I think FAR, is an FAR a term that I should explain briefly, or is that really, okay.
Yes, yes, it is.
Great. So that stands for floor area ratio. And that's just a term that means it's the ratio, the amount of building area that you have on a lot. So if you can imagine, like the building that we're in right now, if the walls were the boundary of the lot, this would have 1 FAR. But if the building area was maybe like half of this room, but the lot was the same size, the FAR would be 0.5. And then 1 FAR would be maybe half of the room, but 2 floors. So 1.1 FAR is approximately just a little over 1 floor. But in practice, that's often like 1 to 2 floors because there's some space for like mechanical equipment, hallways, which don't always count as FAR. So coming back to our proposal, in the mid-block area, we propose if you have a mixed-use building, because we want to incentivize space for jobs, we are allowing an additional 1.1 FAR, 1 to 2 floors of space for all types of non-residential. So that could be office office space, it could be retail, it could be industrial or art space. And then that's up to a total of 5 FAR. So under the proposed change, we're not, I just want to be super clear, we're not changing the total amount of FAR or the amount of residential FAR. That's not changing whatsoever. But with that 1.1 FAR, because the community boards place such a high priority on incentivizing not just all types of job space or office or retail, but specifically arts and light industrial, we're using a list of uses from called the Gowanus mix, which is specified above, and that includes all types of industrial, art, music, studios. I won't read all of them, but it's kind of a flavor of like industrial and arts-related space, with the exception of auto-related uses. And then of that 1.1 FAR, 0.5 of that FAR has to be for these uses. So we're kind of splitting up that 1.5. So instead of 1.5 being for all types, that 0.5 has to be only for this set of uses, and then that other 0.6 FAR can be for office space, retail. So that's really the summary of what we're doing. As far as where we are right now, we're in the community board review. We don't typically come out during the summer, but this is unusual because we wanted to do this as quickly as possible to make sure that this is in effect as soon as we can, while so we're capturing all the development. So to that end, the community board and the borough president are having a concurrent review, which will last until September 8th. And then we are planning to hold our city planning commission hearing on the 17th of September, with the goal of approval shortly after that, and then a city council review will be starting in October, with a likely, knock on wood, approval by early mid-December, or before the end of the year. So yeah, that summarizes the presentation. Happy to get more in depth or helpful or
Do you have any questions? Yes.
I don't know, there might be people here that understood everything you said, but I need a remedial course. In order to understand a lot of what you just said, not only was it difficult to hear you, and I don't know if it's because of the acoustics in this room, but to understand, and again, I reviewed this prior to coming, I've read it since we've been here, and it's just, it's difficult. So if there's something else that can be read, that I can try to understand what is wrong.
maybe first, can everybody hear
And
me?
maybe I'm the only one that knows, so maybe, maybe I just need the one on one.
Hold on a second. Speaking. Oh, Mr. McConaughey.
I just wanted to suggest, if we are going to do like a presentation of land use presentation on this, we might address some of the things that you have questions about. So maybe we want to do that and then see if there are questions that are outstanding after that, because that ties, came up back to the community board initiative a little bit more specific.
I did find the land use presentation to be easier to start with.
Okay,
And it was brief.
better than,
No, I mean, short, but easier to understand.
okay, do we have any other questions? Do you want to, any other questions?
Yeah, can everybody shout? I mean, literally everybody, because I hear most, people like 40 to 60% of what people are saying, but I can't hear everything that everybody is saying. So if everybody could literally yell, it would be helpful.
That would be helpful.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, now I would say, just wait for questions. If it's going to present the main school questions, and I think it would be more helpful if people can understand.
To me, I just have a question, and not for you, but for our land use committee, to understand the timeline, when is the next land use meeting happening? September 4th. Everybody, next land use committee, meeting is September 4th? Please check the website, and give us a
Our
September
Park House, 77 New York Avenue.
September 4th.
I think you might take the slides. All right, good evening, everybody. I'm going to try to talk as loud as I can, and I hope you all can hear me. This is working okay so far. Okay, so my name is Skip Piconi, and I'm going to introduce myself once again by saying I expect this might be the last time I have to speak about M-Crown and AAMUP to all of you for luck. I want to try to tie together a little bit what the relationship of the following corrective action is to Community Board 8's original M-Crown project. So you may have picked up a deck that looks like this when you came in. These are some slides from it, but just very briefly, the Community Board began working on something it called M-Crown in 2015. The purposes of M-Crown were to rezone the district that Jonas showed on his slide that was then M11 in a way that would increase available density for commercial and manufacturing uses mixed with residential. And we wanted to use that market rate residential development to cross-subsidize both affordable housing and manufacturing uses. We wanted to set affordability levels based on the median income for Community District 8, and especially, fourth point, wanted to tailor the allowable manufacturing uses in the new zone to maximize the potential for living rich jobs. So the industries that Jonas showed in that last slide are ones in which they're ones that provide jobs that are accessible to people without a college education that pay a living wage. And that is a group of people who are facing displacement pressure in this community. People are being displaced. You'll see who don't have a college education in favor of other people who do. We want to attract more jobs that are accessible to the former group so they can continue to earn an income that will allow them to stay in this neighborhood. This is a different slide. This is Jonas' asset. You can just keep going on the next slide. So that was the purpose of the Community Board's M-Crown initiative. It then became, in 2018, we received the framework from DCP to implement M-Crown. It looked like this. It was going to have an MX zone in orange there and a higher density manufacturing zones in purple. Next slide. So this would have produced, let's say, about 1.7 million square foot of residential development, and it would have produced about 1.2 million of non-residential, and about 180,000 square feet of these M-Crown uses. Okay, so a lot was diluted from our original vision. We wanted to see much more of those light industrial uses, but we felt that after 3 years of this plan was a good foothold given the economic environment. We can go to the next slide. So, unfortunately, we didn't implement that plan. Fortunately or unfortunately, depending on your point of view, because in 2020, of course, the pandemic came. And so that we were ready to go ahead with the newer for that 2018 zoning framework. We couldn't do it because of the COVID pandemic. So By the time Councilmember Hudson took office in 22, she began a new community engagement activity that lasted several months. And in this fall of 23, the Department of City Planning released a new zoning proposal for AAMUP. And this zoning proposal replaced the previously proposed higher density manufacturing zones with another mixed use zone. Next slide. So that had the effect of removing all of the M-Crown uses at that point, because these original AAMUP proposal did not contain any restricted space for the manufacturing uses the community board wanted to see. So the previous framework would have given us about 180,000 square feet at 450 square foot per job. That would have been about 400 jobs. That wasn't the kind of feedback I was hoping. So this was very significant. This is why it was an issue for us in approving AAMUP. It was an issue for the city council member, and the Department of City Planning responded with the following corrective action: put the manufacturing uses into the zoning as long as requested by the community board. We can go to the next one. So in the follow-up corrective action, that's a microphone, but not a very loud microphone. I think I'll just keep talking at an elevated level here.
Okay, there we go. All right. So this is it kind of goes in and out, actually. Yeah. How's that? No.
I'm not sure this is a net benefit. I'm gonna go with that. So the follow-up corrective action adds a requirement. I'm not going to be able to make it over. The follow-up corrective action adds a requirement for light industrial uses of 0.5 FAR, as Joe had mentioned, on lots in those MX subzones that are at least 10,000 square feet and more. So that would how about point your nose over the edge? It was a good try. So that was, by my calculations, which isn't far from the City Council Land Use Office's calculations, at about 123,000 square feet for the light industrial uses. So that represents about 273 jobs. Not quite as much as the 2018 proposal, but a lot better than the original AAMUP proposal. Now, when the Department of City Planning came to the June land use meeting and presented this, it was the first time the land use committee had heard about the 10,000 square foot limitation for lot size to have the light industrial use restriction. So we hadn't really understood that was part of the FUCA. We hadn't analyzed it. So the Land Use Committee in June passed a resolution supporting the FUCA, but removing the 10,000 square foot lot limitation. Now, what I'm about to say is, it has to do with research I did after that meeting. As I said, we hadn't heard about the 10,000 square foot lot limitation, so we didn't know if it was appropriate, not appropriate. I reached out to two industrial subject matter experts who helped us during the MCROM process. One of them was Cassandra Smith at GMDC. Cassandra believed that, in fact, this limitation did make sense. She felt that a light industrial space that's less than 5,000 square feet wasn't really that viable, given the need for loading, unloading, light. Then I contacted Leah Archibald. Leah is the executive director of Evergreen, and Leah had a different view. Her view was the kind of uses you're looking to attract potentially could move into those smaller spaces, so you might actually want to have light industrial spaces that are less than 5,000 square feet if it's possible. So it would be great if both of them had come down in the same place, but they had different perspectives. And I would tend to, as we discussed in the last land use meeting last week, I would tend to, I would not recommend that we then if you go to the next slide, you'll see that that adds another 67,000 square feet of potential light industrial space, or another 149 jobs. So that's actually better than the 2018 MCRAFT framework would have done. So I think that's worth keeping from our June resolution of the land use committee. So although we don't have, I didn't see a written action item from the land use meeting for this meeting. The land use committee last week voted again to reaffirm support for the FUCA with removal of the 10,000 square foot lot limitation. Without the minimum, you end up with, I believe, about 190,000 square feet of floor area. That's even more than the 180,000 we would have come up with from the 2018 MCRAFT framework. And part of the reason for that is the 2018 MCRAFT framework only expected 0.25 FAR of industrial uses. Instead, with the FUCA, we're getting 0.5. So that's obviously twice 0.25, and that's a big improvement. It's actually more area allocated for light industrial uses than Kiwanis mix included, which was only 0.3 FAR. So this is a very, in my view, this is a positive outcome for the community for in terms of its desire to attract these kinds of jobs.
Could city planning be, so why did city planning change all of this? What was their thinking?
I can't speak for the Department of City Planning, but fortunately Alex Summer is here and he can.
Sorry, can you repeat the question? But it seems like the land use committee wants certain things, and it seems like city planning changed it, and it would be interesting to hear why city planning changed it.
So I'm Alex Summer, I'm the director of the Brooklyn office at the Department of City Planning. Sorry. I'm Alex Summer, I'm the director of the Brooklyn office at the Department of City Planning. It's a great question, and one that we were trying to understand what was feasible for small sites. We came up with the 10,000 square foot limit, not because we wanted less industrial space, but we felt that if we were requiring small sites to include that space, people would not include the incentive at all and build a pure residential building. So, for example, this space is about 10,000 square feet. This space that we have right here today. This incentive plus the required set aside plus residential, you have to remember this is part of a residential building, is 3 distinct uses in a site that's about this big. And so you have to think about loading, egress, entry, and trying to accommodate those 3 uses on a small site, because if it's a small site, we felt that a developer would instead foreclose on the opportunity of including any of that incentive or industrial space and build a pure residential building. And so that was our concern with requiring that on small sites.
Do we have any questions? Ms. Young?
Yes, if I'm not mistaken, I think I stepped out of the room, at our last land use meeting last week. I don't recall the same role, but I could have stepped out and that was Sharon, you were there. And maybe I missed it. We did have a vote? No, correct. Oh, okay. There was no vote.
We did vote at the June land use meeting to support it, approving the 10,000 square foot lot.
I didn't make the last
Yeah, I know.
meeting.
Well, there's no reason to have another vote for that because we had already voted for that in the June land use meeting. Maybe I didn't explain it very well. That's probably my mistake.
And that's also to make sure that they understand, because one of the things that happened in June is that the community and the you can't have.
Louder, we can't hear you.
No speaker.
It's an opportunity, the last week is the opportunity to make sure that the community at large and the community board members were informed. Because after we had the vote in June, and there was much consternation, part of that was growing about the community board, is that we were confused.
and did not end up in what was actually voted on in mid-May. And that is the affordable housing component. Community Board 8 has been saying from the get-go for years that we wanted truly affordable housing for the people who are at most risk of displacement to be built as part of this rezoning. And for that reason, we had been pushing for MIH 3, the deep affordability option, to be mapped in this area. And City of Yes passed saying, yes, it's okay to map just MIH 3, the deep affordability option. Now, and sorry, I'll try to go super fast. And then the city council members came to us in May and said, we think that some people might be left out. Could we convince you to say that you will accept mapping MIH 1, option 1, which is like medium affordability, in addition to option 3. And in the end, we had a vote all together in May, and we said we want deep affordability to be added, to have the medium affordability added to it. That was our vote. And then the vote, what we discovered after the fact was that it only MIH option 1, medium affordability, got mapped everywhere. MIH 3, the deep affordability, did not get mapped at all. At all. And this is the category of housing that is going to be actually affordable for the people who are at most risk of displacement, and something that groups like AAMUP have made very clear. Even if you are in medium affordability, even if you qualify for the medium affordability ones today, the way these things are working, you might need the deep affordability 10 years from now when these buildings actually come online. So I know I can only speak for myself, but I do believe that there are more of us who would very much like for the city to do some kind of corrective action so that the deep affordability option that we all voted that we wanted to be added back into this. Now, Councilmember Hudson shared a statement back in June where my understanding was that she said that she kind of misunderstood our vote from May. And so it sounds, no matter what happened, it sounds like there was a miscommunication, even though we have tried to be very clear for a long time. So I'm wondering if it would be possible for us to push for the deep affordability option to be back on the table. That's just the comment I wanted to say. Yes.
I want to thank you, Dr. Zumba, but I misunderstood. My vote, I thought that 3 and 1 were going to be together.
That is what we voted on, absolutely, that was the vote.
And then when I saw 1, several of us beat ourselves up thinking that we misunderstood. Okay, all right, so I am on the same page, and I'm saying if they could come back and look at the city planning and look at what they are proposing, why can't they revisit the MIH again to make sure that 3 is included in what was passed? And this I understand.
Hey,
I'm sorry, what's your name?
Declan.
Declan, please.
Yeah, I'm hearing you. So I'm sorry, this is a dumb question, but if I'm understanding the contours of the community board is asking for certain things, and it feels like the city's planning is coming back and saying that sounds great, but that's not possible, or we don't think that that's reasonable, or we don't think that that's feasible. And do we think that the city planners are full of it? Is that what people are sort of, I'm trying to understand the contours of, right, is that what city's planning saying, they're like, this light industrial stuff, or this affordability stuff sounds great, but we don't think it's possible, and we think that the city planners are wrong, are lying, are not being big enough? What is causing the disconnect?
I think you're going to enjoy being on the community board. there is, part of what we do here is there is a tension between community members, elected officials, and government in making certain kinds of decisions, land use decisions being a key group of those decisions. So without splitting all of the hairs, I would just say that this is something that you will encounter over and over again here with the community board. We are here to try to press for things that we think will make the community the most sustainable.
But they all sound like great things. Why isn't city planning on board?
You're going to need to come to a lot more community meetings. I mean, we can talk about that. And people have different, sometimes government, elected officials, and community have different perspectives. We're here to try to focus on the community perspective and put that in front and center as much as we possibly can. And to be honest, so since you argued this, I would also explain the reason that we ended up with an AAMUP rezoning at all is because the community board spent a decade on this. And the only reason you get something like what we have here this evening with a follow-up corrective action to something that was very important to us over the course of 10 years is because we spent the 10 years selling it politically to elected officials, not just at the city council, but at the borough president's level and city hall as well. These are the things that community boards can do. And so it takes a lot more sometimes than one meeting to get an idea out. You don't necessarily get everyone else to jump to it in attention when you have the idea for the first time. But after 10 years, people start to listen. But they still might not totally agree with you, and you have to continue to press. So that's what we do here. I think you're going to enjoy this.
Ms. Maldonado?
Yeah, so does this mean that if the space is a minimum of 10,000 square feet, it has to have this light industrial use or this mixed use, or it's still an option?
If a space has, if a building in one of these mixed-use zones is going to develop beyond the 3.9 FAR for residential, the non-residential space has to be 0.5 FAR of that must be these uses.
Okay, so it's a requirement, not like an option, because if what you were saying was smaller, people could opt out and only.
If the developer chooses to avail themselves of the excess FAR,
right,
then they have to devote half of it to this use.
Okay.
But the developer could choose to just build 3.9.
Yeah, they don't, it's not a requirement that they build it, but it's an incentive. It's an incentive, not a requirement.
So DCP is in the room. Would you like to comment? Can you confirm it with just what you said?
Yeah, that's correct. The way you described it.
Thank you. Does anyone else have a question? Yes.
I have a question for, I think it's city planning as to that, I guess that last sentence, the limited developer incentive, use of incentive FAR. I don't know if you guys sort of have numbers that would support the conclusion that developers under 10,000 square feet would not choose to use the FAR, the sort of incentive FAR, or like what, I guess beyond sort of.
Can you speak a little louder? What's your name?
Ryan Tucker.
Ryan,
I want to know what, I guess, statistics or I guess evidence would suggest that a developer wouldn't use the additional FAR or like skip out the incentive entirely.
Sure. So the question is like, why do we think somebody wouldn't utilize this incentive if on a small site? So we undertook a study called "Can Industrial Mixed-Use Buildings Work?" It's a very catchy name, and the report is on our website. We took a look with architects and developers and a number of sites across New York City, including some sample sites here in Crown Heights. There are certain physical constraints to development that require things like required egress, meaning an exit door and a hallway that leads to it. Lobby space for residential. You need a certain amount of square footage for HVAC and mechanical systems for industrial uses that are larger And so when we look at the requirements or the needs of industrial businesses, you'll find that a lot of them need to locate on a certain minimum size lot. And we do see in some instances, and Gib brought this up with Evergreen, when there's an existing large loft building like 1000 Dean Street, there's multiple like small spaces in there that businesses can use. But we're talking about new ground up development, and you need a minimum size lot in order to accommodate a number of uses. So like I said before, this is proposed for mixed use buildings, meaning there's residential above, and then below you have non-residential space, retail, office, community facility, and then in this case, industrial space as well. So if you look at a lot that's this big as this room, try to imagine the elevator core, the lobby for the residential space, and that takes up a certain amount of the room. You need an entrance and a lobby for the office retail space, if you have like, imagine a coffee shop. And then you need another space for the industrial use. And you only have so much room to fit in onto a ground floor. So our concern was that because it's an incentive, that if you are requiring this industrial space on small sites, that a developer can't physically fit, literally cannot physically fit all of those uses on one small site, and may say, you know what, screw it, I don't want to include any of these uses, and I'm just going to not include the incentive. And that was our concern. We felt, again, that we would get more job space if we didn't require it on small sites. I know that seems counterintuitive, but that's our thought. We're really not saying that we don't want to include industrial space. We're just saying we would probably get more if we didn't have the requirement.
Before you leave, Director Summers, Dr. Lazar had a question. She just made a statement. She had a question. Can you answer it, please? Does she need to restate it?
Sure.
Thank you.
So my question is, can the follow-up corrective action get MIH option 3 to be mapped onto this area as the community board very clearly stated we want? Because we want deep affordability to be mapped all over this area, not just at those small yellow dots that are on a big purple arrow. We want deep affordability to be possible everywhere.
No, it's a fair question, I understand. We've been working with you guys for a number of years, and we heard loud and clear. This action is tied specifically to this industrial discussion. So it is very narrow in scope. That's why, I'm sorry we didn't spend a lot of time talking about the overall neighborhood plan, is because the scope of this is really tied only to this industrial requirement. So there's no discussion about affordability, there's no discussion about new housing here, there's nothing about housing, affordability, or anything related to this proposed action.
Ms. Neal?
Is it really necessary that they have to have two different commercial uses in the ground floor space? Can it just be the industrial?
It can, yes.
So if it can just be the industrial, why are you saying that they can't fit three different spaces in this one space?
Because
the uses in this one space, and technically it's just two, it's just a residential.
they would
be like industrial, like you have created a problem where one doesn't exist.
And also the 0.5 is a minimum. The developers choose to do 1 or 1.5 or whatever for that.
Yes. So you just created a scenario that doesn't exist in reality.
Yeah. No, it's a good question. All of these industrial uses are allowed under the manufacturing zone. If somebody wanted to build more, they could build it. The question is should it be required as part of the incentive? The incentive allows arts, industrial, community facility space. It allows those uses. So if they wanted to build more than 0.5, they could build 0.6, 1.1, they could build all of it.
The lady in the back, what's your name?
My name is Vanessa.
Hi, Vanessa.
This is my first meeting. So I have a question. Can there be limitations on the mixed-use building? Because I live over on Franklin between Clawson and Prospect Place between Franklin and Clawson, and there's tons of industrial space over there. Plus, what they've done now is the mixed use, and I'm just confused of why there's so many more mixed-use buildings that have gone up over there, and not these industrial buildings that you're saying that they're asking for. Because that is, to me, like, it is an industrial space. If you, along Dean, along Pacific, that is industrial, but it looks like what they've done is found a loophole to do the mixed-use buildings, and they're not affordable housing. So,
Exactly.
can we find, is there limitations on the mixed-use buildings? Is that?
That question is, can you answer that?
I'm sorry, is it?
One second, can you answer that, Mr.
I mean,
Smith?
this is a neighborhood plan that we all voted on and
Okay.
agreed to. This has been in the works for
10 years, so, yeah, I'm sorry. Okay, no.
I know, it's a fair question.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
10 years in the making, so I'm
I think though, the buildings you're talking about the new buildings that are going in on Pacific Street and Atlantic Avenue?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, so that's a great question. Those buildings were approved. It's
Okay.
not a loophole. They were approved before this rezoning, but they were approved under what are called private ULURP applications.
Gotcha.
The community board had already been socializing for years its vision for what was gonna go here. And so, developers didn't all wait for the city to pass the whole neighborhood plan. Some people came in early and said, I don't know when the city's gonna pass this plan, but I hear what the community board says it wants, and I'm willing to do it. And so I'll do my own ULURP application, which is the right response, which they did. When you mentioned that at the end, I think that those were the buildings you're talking about.
Yeah.
All of those came through meetings like this where we hammer things out with the developers and the like.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. McCollum. I do have a question. Ms. Mitchell and Mr. LaPointe.
Actually, please don't walk away. This question is for you. It's following up on Dr. Lazar's question. So, you got us doing this. Why aren't we doing one for the affordable housing? How do we get that done? And let's move, can we move that along somehow?
This was part of basically the agreement at the end of the city council process, was to ensure that we could come back and meet the priorities of this industrial set aside. We knew that was a priority. So I think that's a discussion that we should all have
We
together.
had the discussion. In fact, what we asked for was option 3 and MIH option 3. We were very clear on that. We actually thought we voted on that. I'm sure that you're aware. So since that was supposedly a snafu, once again, I'm going to ask you, as we're doing this, why aren't we also doing the one for MIH option 3?
No, it's a fair question. This, again, was agreed to by the city council.
Okay, well, what we agreed to in this room, these people.
This would be a new process and a new text amendment, and so that's where we would have to go. And that's
Are you going to do that? Or, like, you've been able to bring this, so are you going to be able to do that?
Again, it is a public review process that will have to go through the city council.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, we understand what has to be done, but what I'm asking you once again is, as you're able to do this, are you also able and willing to do the affordable housing of MIH option 3, which we wanted included?
That would have to be a discussion with the city council, because that was the city council modification of the neighborhood plan. And so we would have to work with them in terms of the public review process.
It just sounds like we're going around in a bit of a circle, and I'm not trying to do that. I'm just trying to get it done, so I'm asking you as the person who is with DCP and who has had ownership of this plan, how do we get this done?
Let me just, Ms. Mitchell, it has to circulate from us first, then to the city council. So you can't, but
With respect to me.
now, I hear what you're saying, but here, right, you cannot.
Okay.
My initial point is, it's about the square footage of this room. If we're gonna use this as a reference, I mean, I'd say this is like 50 feet by 50 feet. I mean, that's 2,500 square feet.
I don't think this is 9,000.
This is not even close. If it's 50 by 50, that's 2,500 square feet. So if you're gonna use this as a reference, I just wanted to know it's about a quarter of 10,000 square feet.
Maybe you get the.
It's a lot.
It's a lot, okay, not this room. Everyone's using this room as a reference. It's not the size of it.
Let's have a meeting in the parking lot.
Yeah, this room is about 2,500 square feet.
Ms. Young?
Thank you.
I think just to tie it in and put some momentum to the question on the table that was raised by Dr. Zara meeting in terms of what do we want to do to go back to the city council how would we do that? It has to come from us. And then if we can get that moving, then it can go, I guess, to city planning and go through the circle. I don't know what that process is there, or if it's even doing.
Mr. Capone and Mr. Woodcock.
Well, that would be a motion by somebody at a land use meeting or a general meeting that the community board requests a follow-up corrective action on mapping MIH.
Second, right here. Right there. Yeah, but then what is our time, we can also be right here, and what is our timeline? Thank you.
Well,
We need to be right here.
Do it now.
Well, so we can make it part of a motion for this follow-up corrective action, but it's possible it will be considered not in scope. If that's the case, we'll need to do what Sharon just said, which is to bring it forward at the land use meeting and ask for a second follow-up corrective action to accomplish the MIH. Which we can do. Then we bring it to the full board meeting, and the full board meeting votes on it.
All of that right now, right here.
So,
I
I want to split things.
Wait, wait, I'm sorry.
I want to split things for a second, because we should definitely not leave tonight before we finish the land use, the use group, right? So that's one issue. Second issue is, Dr. Lazar and Ms. Mitchell's points, I feel we're already on record. We had the vote. We already voted in support of this. I would feel totally confident re-voting on that tonight, because we're just reiterating the position we've already taken.
Okay.
So it's another motion. I mean, I understand the logic of that makes sense. I wasn't at the May meeting, so I don't, but I think everybody agrees that what was requested was a mapping of MIH options. So, I mean, so to dispose of the FUPA, which we have, which we're on a regulatory timeline for, can I move that the community board support the follow-up corrective action contingent upon removal of the 10,000 square foot lot limit?
Second. So that would be, Mr. Capone, Ms. Neal, and Dr.
We have no questions?
Yeah.
Dr. Lazar.
I had a question.
You have one, we're gonna have some support. So, do we, raise the second?
Cody and Lazar, thank you.
Is there a question on this
Yeah,
motion?
yes.
Yes, you are.
My name's Matt. I don't totally know how the process works. Is it possible to?
If we have one conversation, please, I came here to that.
Yeah. Is it possible for the City Planning Commission to amend the the follow-up action such that they increase the incentive to match the total number of jobs that you had all originally wanted? So if you went from like 1.1 to 1.5, so then and 0.6 of that is the light industrial, you would get back to the same number of jobs, or you could remain with the 10K minimum that they wanted as like a compromise. I don't know how this works. I'm just proposing that, but.
I think that's probably more than we. So just to make sure the context is clear, the reason the FUCA is here is because there was a negotiation between the city council and the Department of City Planning. I think we kind of want to get that done. I think we kind of want to finish it. And without the lot limitation, we do actually get to the same job count that even a little bit better than we would have had from the 2018 framework. And so I rather than sort of go around again with, the kind of analysis you're talking about is called a bulk analysis. And to try to do a bulk analysis now and come up with a new zoning model now, it really would be very, very difficult in a meeting like this.
Yeah, okay. I was just curious how it, thank you.
Okay, so are there any other questions in this motion?
So right now we're voting to remove this lot limitation from, if they're smaller than 10,000, they would still be able to get the incentive, or no, they would not?
So the limitation is that the lot has to be 10,000 square feet to require the light industrial uses. What we want to do is move that limitation so all lots will require it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how much is the FAR, the FAR of light industrial use if they are under 10,000?
The developer can choose. They have to make at least 50% of their non-residential use to light industrial uses.
Okay.
But they could make more than 50%. As
If the question was if the lot size is small, it's smaller than 10,000.
Yes, it's smaller than 10,000.
If it's smaller, the developer
They don't have to.
is not bound.
Okay, so it's.
No. The reason we want to take the lot limitation out is because the developer, as Ms. Neal pointed out, doesn't have to do 3 different uses. He doesn't have to do residential, community, facility, and light industrial. He could just decide, I'm just going to do light industrial. And he very well might decide to do that if his lot's smaller than 10,000 square feet. Because he's required to do 50% anyway at that level. And he might feel like, it's just easier for me to build the building if I do the whole first floor with this use. So that's part of the logic in taking it out.
Is that it will mandate that to still do have light industrial use?
And maybe more than 0.5.
Okay.
0.5 is the minimum amount they can do, but they can do more if they want.
With the limitation, do they still have to do light industrial use though, regardless?
With the limitation now, they can get the whole, the way it's written now, they can get the additional 1.1 FAR and not have to do the light industrial.
Okay.
So essentially, and I'm not trying to put words in the Department of City Planner's mouth, but I like to, sometimes I do anyway. Their point is, the developer should just get to use unrestricted non-residential space because it's too complicated for him to build 2 uses. Our argument is the developer should just make it light industrial because it's too complicated for him to do 2 uses. Are they right? Are we right? I don't know. But as I said before, we try to reflect the community point of view, not the developer's point of view.
But was he saying that they will have to do all 3 uses if we remove that requirement?
That was the argument, but it's a bit of it's a red herring because the developer doesn't have to do 3 uses. He only has to do at least half an FAR of light industrial. He can decide, but again, he wants to do the whole floor that way.
Okay.
And he might decide that if he has a smaller lot. From our point of view, we would say, look, if the developer's making a decision to economize this project, we'd rather have him economize it in favor of creating the jobs we want to see in the community versus building a bigger Starbucks.
Right.
Okay. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes, in the back? In the back, yes.
I just want to ask the community board and the advocates in this room for affordable housing, have we resolved the issue that we're not satisfied with the issue of amount of affordable housing? And I'd like to put it within context for you, because it's clear this country is criminalizing homelessness. And a lot of people in Washington, D.C. feel the reason they got the National Guard is because they got so many homeless in the street. They're not criminals, they're just houseless. So this is a very serious issue that you are fighting for right now. It is extremely important against the fight of fascism. So you have to keep fighting and you have to win.
Thank you, Ms. Hill.
Madam Chair, I'm sorry, Madam Chair, I do see Paris Strouder, the council's land use person here. He was the June meeting, he was the one who was here and let us know that we might have been as a board a little bit confused. So Mr. Strouder, do we have everything correct here? Is everything that's been stated accurate according to you and the council standards? Like, we want to make sure that when we leave tonight, we understand what we're doing.
Right. Everybody hear with me without the mic? Great, okay.
Speak loud.
Yeah, we'll try. My name is Paris Strouder. I'm the director of the Planning and Land Use Division for City Council. So I work with all 51 City Council members. Councilmember Hudson did ask me to be here today in case this came up. So just to clarify a few things, I know you guys are going to take a vote on the follow-up correction action that's on the table. That action is only on the industrial piece. It can't address affordability. That it's called out of scope to do that at this point, which means that basically if you don't start something before certification, sometimes you can't change it. Sometimes you can, but sometimes you can't. And this way, you cannot change it to address anything before the code. So that's what this would go, and you guys will vote for. In terms of addressing the issue raised around option 3, and I apologize that I wasn't at that meeting, it was just the council members. The council members' understanding was that the community only wanted option 1. I understand. Right. Yeah. So, you know, that's was definitely a miscommunication. The problem with how we voted in terms of doing the council mod is that it wasn't a kind of error. It wasn't a we didn't do anything wrong. So we cannot do it. We cannot do a follow-up corrective action to address the affordability. That's different because actually the way that this industrial thing went down is that actually there was communications between city planning and city council.
Wait, let them continue. Let them continue. Let them finish what they're saying.
By all means, just let me finish. Yeah. There were conversations between city council and city planning where the understanding even before the plan was certified is that this could be a change. This industrial piece here could be a change during the process. That there was errors made, and because there were deliberate errors made, and everyone was on the same page, that's why we would do a follow-up corrective action in this case. That is not available to us for the affordability.
Wow.
That said, I have good news. Perhaps. Just because we can't do a follow-up corrective action doesn't mean we can't change the MIH option.
Change what?
The MIH option.
Okay.
The affordability option.
Okay.
It can't be a follow-up corrective action from a legal standpoint. And I've had these conversations with.
I'm gonna ask everyone to be quiet except for this.
I'm asking them to speak louder, I can't.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
I couldn't even hear that, so please.
So we've had these conversations with the head lawyer at DCP. We've had these conversations with my head lawyer. So we're certain about that. How we would have to do it is it would be a separate text amendment to change the MIH affordability option of this plan. That action is without any precedent since MIH came into law in 2016. Doesn't mean we can't do it, it just means it's never been done before. So that's basically, I just wanted to clarify that. It won't be a follow-up corrective action. It couldn't have been included here since that question was raised. We have to do it as a separate text amendment, and that would be in conjunction with city planning and city council. We haven't had those conversations yet, but that's how it would have to come. It's a conversation, I think, for well, I'll talk about that. But that's how we would have to do it, and it's without precedent.
I'm very glad
Without
to hear
what?
Excuse me?
Precedent.
Excuse me? Without precedent.
So it's criminalized
So,
owners.
excuse me. I didn't see you.
No, I had my hand raised, but-
I didn't even see you.
But I was-
Sorry. I'm happy that you're here and that you're sharing that with us. And I really hope that that's a serious intention to move in that direction and to align with what it is we are looking for our community. We have a question, Ms. Maldonado?
Process question. So in order to move this along, do you think that the community board needs its own lawyers that we can, our minutes that document our vote, that,
Yeah. No, I think what just needs to happen is what you guys are saying, which is, you should probably take a vote to say that this is what we want.
We're gonna do that tonight.
I just want to make sure the vote is correct. It's not going to be a follow-up corrective action. It will just be a separate text amendment. And then city council and city planning would have to talk that through. We haven't had those discussions yet. But you know, we're here, DCP is here and city council, we're here to help you all out.
And you know, they work for the mayor. I work for the speaker of the city council and the city council members. So, you know, we don't work for you perhaps, but we work through your council members. So we're here to help.
Okay, so we're gonna, the questions are gonna be.
That's what you think.
Mimi, Mr. Mitchell, Mr. Winnowax, Dr. Lazar, and the lady, what was her name? I'm sorry? Regina Wilson, thank you. Go right ahead, Ms. Mitchell.
So you know what we want, right? Crystal Hudson knows what we want, right? DCP, do you know what we want?
Right.
Yeah, we're all good, right? Okay. So what are we doing? Like, what are we doing now? You're saying now you gotta go talk about it there. I mean, we made ourselves really clear. This community has made themselves clear. The community board has made themselves extremely clear. We've written letters, we've let you know. That mistake was not on our part. So we wanna call them the error, we wanna call them a mistake. Some of us see it a lot differently as misleading and miscommunicating. We can call it whatever, a whatever. It's clear that this community board did not vote for option 1 only. That's one thing that we have no debate on, right? Are we clear on that yet, or no?
From your guys' perspective, and I hear that.
Right.
I haven't seen anything in writing that reflects that. Maybe I just talked to them.
Well, because we didn't,
I'm gonna.
so I guess what I'm saying is,
Ms. Mitchell.
how do we get a liaison in order to liaise with the board and the city council member and DCP? Like, there's got to be something else, because we shouldn't be sitting here getting this answer from you at this point. I know it's not your fault. However, we've been really clear since that vote in May, and now we're approaching August, going into September.
Okay, so I'm gonna put a hold on this, because we're in the middle of a vote. So I wanna finish that, and then we'll get back to you. So I have the order here, but if I get messed up, just correct me in terms of who's and who's raised. So let's go back to the action item for the so we already have, Mr. Bocconi making the motion, and Dr. Lazar has seconded. So I'm gonna ask Mr. Winnowax if you can do a roll call. I'm sorry, can you repeat the motion? Yes, please.
The motion is to support the use group follow-up correction action of the FUCA, if you will, with the removal of the limitation of 10,000 square feet. So just the presentations we've seen tonight. So affordable housing will be the next vote, but for right now we're only talking about the use groups, right? To approve this follow-up corrective action regarding the implementation of the bonus, the incentives of the use groups, but not as DCP recommended, with the removal of the 10,000 square feet. Is that clear? All right. Maria Egan.
Yes.
Sharon Alexis Pierre.
Yes.
Isaac Antino.
Yes.
Gail Branch Muhammad.
Yes.
Goldfield.
Yes.
Tamika Gibbs.
Yes.
Mohammed Hassan.
Yes.
Safari John King.
Yes.
Jennifer Jordan. Yes. Francis Langley.
Yes.
Bobby LaPointe.
Yes.
Dr. Sarah Lazar.
Yes.
Lisa Maldonado.
Yes.
Mimi Mitchell.
Yes.
Gil Ortiz Joyner.
Yes.
Terea Petway.
Yes.
Yaya Raji.
Yes.
Anika Roach. Ms. Roach? Thank you. Ezra Roth?
Abstain. Or am I able to hear what the
This is the
announcement is?
use group. This is everything we talked about before.
Okay, it's just voting for this.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
Your,
Yes.
your daughters voted already. Thank you. Leslie Steele. Declan Tanger.
Yes.
Mark Thurman.
Yes.
Brian Tucker.
Yes.
Brianna Uba.
Yes.
Gil Tony.
Yes.
Kirsten Weatherspoon.
Yes.
Sharon Wedderburn. Regina Wilson.
Yes.
Roberta Wright, yes. Deborah Young.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. 28 in favor.
Excellent, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, so you can resume with the questions. Yes.
One thing I'm still on. What's your name? I'm sorry.
This is the
So I hear you. I think it would be helpful for the city council member
certainly me and my staff, to have something in writing from the board, so that it's clear that this is now the intention. What I can't speak to is, where the city council members, because there's no say as a piece of this too, will want to do with that, but I think that'll clearly state, like, it's not just some people at the board, this is what the board wants, and, and then it'll be up to us to figure out what's the planning, one, if we're gonna do the change, how we would do it, and the timing.
Just a really quick question, I'm gonna sneak on through here. Since we are doing text amendments and it is unprecedented, are we also at that time able to get more than option 1 and 3? Like, we originally, as a board and as land use, actually did, I guess we called it, 2.5? 3.5, thank you, is what we called it. It was a little bit of a plan that went a little bit over, the mandated MIH options. So let's just say, for instance, instead of 30% at 40%, at 40 AMI, we said 35% at 40% AMI, that kind of thing. Are we able to do that with this amendment, or is that not allowed? Like, I'm not saying that council one member will agree or anything, I'm just talking about as a community and the board, are we able to still advocate for our MIH 3.5 plan?
Yeah, so to do anything that doesn't already exist in the MAH law, otherwise changing the MAH options or creating another option.
Yeah.
That would be a citywide text amendment. And that would have to take concurrence from a much larger group of stakeholders. So otherwise, the rest of the city council. My recommendation is if you really want option 3 now, in addition to option 1, just do that and we can continue to have these discussions around, because other communities are interested in doing that too. I think that there should be other options besides the one we're on the table.
Right.
I wouldn't combine that discussion.
Okay. Good. But it can't be done that way, that we're talking.
Because it would have to be a citywide text.
Okay.
You want to keep this just to this so that you know 2 council members and not.
And not, yeah, understood, yeah.
Yes. We could be the genesis.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Mr. Middlewax?
I don't want to contribute more to the hot air that's already happening, but maybe this is a political question, does the fact that we have already voted for 1 and 3 and it somehow got lost in translation, let me be charitable, does that cut any ice for this unprecedented text amendment that you're talking about, if it's viewed in that way?
Yeah, no, I think what the council members recognize is there was obviously a miscommunication. So that's helpful for us to state that. The reason I said it was unprecedented is because even though this would clearly be done through a text amendment, it is something that the city council, and not just those 2 council members, but city council and the administration would have to agree on. And because it's without precedent, there might be some resistance at either.
We don't want to get into the tinkering around the details. Well, I would like to make a motion if the time is right.
I just want to get a couple votes in and waited. Dr. Lazar?
I was wondering if there is, I know that it's unprecedented, but hey, we live in unprecedented times. So I know that, for example, if a person wanted to do an Article 78 lawsuit in order to try to undo a government decision, there's a 4-month window in which you can do it with the text amendment such as this. Is there is there a deadline on us at this point, or and then similarly, do you have a sense of what the time frame would be for getting this done?
Yeah, no, good question. So, let me start with the timeline first. One of the reasons I flagged the precedent is because it's unprecedented and because there might be resistance either at council or in the administration, it might delay the time. Typically, a text amendment timeline, particularly for something simple like this, because it's just the text of the MIH,
MIH and adding that option 3. It's fairly simple to do. That can get done really quickly. You know, you do need 30 days to refer it for certification. And then the text amendment process is abbreviated Bueller because it's, you have simultaneous community board and board president review. It's only 45 days. And then it goes to city planning commission, so it's not the whole 7-month process, it's a shorter process, which is why this is gonna get done before the end of the year. So if we get agreement to do it, and you know, it can move forward, like it could start before the end of the year, and then it could conclude sometime next year. Of course, we may be dealing with a different administration, but these things happen. So that's on the timeline. In terms of what you were asking about, kind of Article 78, I wasn't clear on what the question really was.
It's just that I understand that sometimes correcting something, sometimes there's like a statute of limitations, like you have to act within this amount of time, otherwise that shouldn't sail. So I was just
So
wondering.
that doesn't apply here, because this would be a totally separate, like actually, you know, you could go, when this is, I don't actually want to say that. I'll say, it's limited to this plan, 10 years from now, if someone wanted to change the MIH option, for instance, they can do this. So that's kind of statute of limitations doesn't apply, but that's because this is not going to be a follow-up corrective action, because it doesn't qualify.
Thank you. Okay, next, Ms. Roach.
I have some concerns. My concern regarding MIH 143 is the fact that we are asking for deep affordability for housing, but we're not being conscious of the fact that we're still going according to like AAMUP that really doesn't represent the people in the community. And therefore, before we can decide that we want to vote for MH 1, 3, I believe we need to really nail down what it really means to be able to afford a home or an apartment in this community, because the incomes are going up only in certain areas because of the requirement of the rent that's being asked. So it's going back and forth with it saying, okay, well, the AMI is this, and because of that, you're able to ask for this money, and vice versa. But in addition to that, we also need to understand when we say that we want to offer these jobs, because I'm baffled, like we're gonna offer all these jobs to people in the community that don't have high school diplomas, and I'm trying to understand how they gonna be able to afford these apartments, because it don't go hand in hand. People with college degrees can't even afford some of these apartments. I don't understand how a person with a high school diploma or without a high school diploma is supposed to do this. I think we need to really examine what type of jobs we ask them to come into this community so that these people that can take advantage of these jobs and be able to take advantage of the affordable housing that really doesn't exist.
Exactly.
So, thank you for the question, and I think it's a real good one. I think Ms. Mitchell. So Ms. Mitchell was asking about kind of changing the MIH framework to address, you know, affordability in other ways, and that's kind of what you're speaking towards as well. Like, do we need more MIH options because it's not deeply affordable enough?
We need to change the AMI before we even get to the.
We can't change the AMI, it's a federal standard. But what we can do.
It's a federal standard, I understand that, but everything, there's no such thing as we can't. There's no such thing as we don't want to, because at the time, everything changed. This Ecclesiastes, change comes.
I agree with
basically. So we're not gonna say that we can't do it, we're gonna say that at this point it's not an option. Because it really can change. All we have to do is communicate that, listen, this is not affordable for the people within the community. And if we stress that long enough and hard enough and continue to bring it down, then we will see the results that we're looking for. We don't see the results
because in the group, an chorus of people saying it can't happen, there's somebody saying, yes, it can.
I agree. You have more faith in the federal government than I do. But what we can do is change city
I have
law.
faith in
Certainly.
people, not a government, and of people, and people make change.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. And I hope to see it in 2026. But anyway, what we have more power to change is what's New York City law, and the zoning resolution is New York City law. So a question that Ms. Mitchell was asking, and part of the board conversation, part of this planning effort, is we really like to see other MIH options that are on the table. That's something other communities have raised as well. So it's a discussion that's out there.
In Brownsville, they were successful.
We should continue that discussion, but that's a citywide discussion. It wouldn't just be applied to this neighborhood. It would be a citywide text amendment to the zoning resolution, and a lot of stakeholders.
Ms. Mohammed?
I think I heard you say that one of the next steps should be writing a letter to the city council, and that's both to Chief Osei as well as Mr. Hudson. In addition to that, shouldn't our minutes from that meeting support what we're saying? Because I think you said that you're hearing that from us. But the minutes should reflect what we said that was made. And shouldn't those minutes be attached to the letter that shows support for what we said with 1 and 3? It started 3, period. And then it turned out to be 3 and 1. So shouldn't we be sending those minutes? Yes, shouldn't we be sending those minutes? What I'm saying, should not be included.
We can include, absolutely. Mark, can you still have your own?
This thing is taking up a tremendous amount of real estate within the Crown Heights community. Once this thing goes, they have a green light to do whatever they wish. The developers, are they gonna be coming to us to let us know what's going on? Or is it a green light that they can do whatever they want within that limit?
Yeah, great question. So in New York City, we have as of right zoning. So once the zoning is in place, it's an as of right process. So developers often, do, as a courtesy, come to the community board or have a kind of community meeting to say, hey, we're doing this, even though they don't need an approval, but oftentimes they don't. And they're not required to at all, right? They can just do whatever they want. As long as it's compliant with the zoning.
So I'm sorry, so we have no idea what's being done in our neighborhood. Is there a way that we can ask for them to let us know what's going on? Because some of them might say, hey, I'll go to you. Other ones that say that, kiss off, as just as somebody was saying about they were telling us to kiss off, they could say that too. They're saying that they paid tremendous amount of money for this for this property. They're gonna do what they want. We're gonna max them out to the limit. And it may be as ugly as can be, and we have to suck it up, and it may not, most of the stuff won't be effective by our Crown Heights community.
It would have to comply with this plan. So in order for them to build it without coming for an approval, it would have to be compliant with what this plan has approved.
That's with the height so forth, but not with anything else.
Well, there's some rules around massing and kind of like yard setback, and then what we were talking about with the.
But not the facade. I mean, no.
We're talking about materials and other things like that, not necessarily.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson.
I got my question,
In the green shirt?
Tracy Nottingham. I wanted to follow up with the question that Ms. Mitchell was talking about, the MIH 3.5. Why can't that be handled as a special district requirement? You have the fashion district where there are specific things that apply only there. So you were explaining that there would have to be a citywide zoning text amendment, and that is my question. Why would it have to be if you're making a special district? There are things, for instance, in the fashion district that are specific just to the fashion district. Why can't this be perhaps a test case, but specific to this special district that we are now creating?
No, it's a really great question. Because certainly there are special districts that have special regulations. The way affordability works in the zoning resolution, and this is somewhat common in other cities too, so there's a national legal precedent around this. And that's important because you're putting an affordability requirement on developers, that's expensive. And if you don't do it right, they will sue us and they might win. The way that we regulate affordability in the city is it's a citywide text, the MIH law. So any kind of regulation of affordability has to be a citywide action. Now before MIH, there were other ways, like we had the AIRS program, we had the VIH program. There's other examples. All those examples are citywide. None of them are specific to a specific neighborhood because there's a lot of legal risk in doing that. We really need to regulate affordability on a citywide level to make sure that it's not litigated successfully against us, and then we would have less ability to make sure there's affordable housing.
Yes. And then you in the back.
Ryan, I just want to clarify, we need only Councilmember TSA and Councilmember Crystal Hudson to approve off our plan of, I guess, MIH3 in order to sort of get in, or like, what's the? Okay. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I think I understand your question.
Yeah.
So, when something only applies to certain council districts, you're really only dealing with those council members. That said, I said what I said about it being unprecedented. This is still going to, everything is still a conversation at the citywide council level. What city council typically does is, on local matters, they defer to the local members. Because this matter has not been done, and it's without precedent, it could be something that becomes more of a city, a whole city council issue. So that's why I said that.
Loretto? I just wanted to ask in terms of having things in writing. This was a while ago, but I feel like when you guys did your amendments to AAMUP, MI3 was in there. Am I wrong?
Correct.
That was in writing submitted to Crystal Hudson before she voted.
Oh, there were a lot of things submitted.
In writing.
Before,
So I would like to know
before she voted.
why she received this long list of our amendments and still continue to vote and saying that it's not in there when it was written on paper, delivered to her.
My understanding is that it was a more verbal vote and verbal understanding. Maybe I'm wrong.
No, it was written. It was an amendment, the list of amendments that we got very few passed, but it was MI3, I remember it was in it.
In December, you're thinking of December, right?
Yeah, the amendments.
No, this is the main meeting.
The minute, like when they approved AAMUP with the amendments, right?
But May is when, okay, so we had all of that in December, and then Crystal Hudson had sent messages to the board that were shared with the land use committee saying, I'm going to paraphrase, I really think y'all should you should really think about the whole MIH option 1 because there are some people who would be left out if we don't have option 1. I really think y'all should reconsider option. I think option 1 is great. And then at the May meeting, Crystal Hudson and Chiosane came back and pitched this again. And then a motion was made, and we had a discussion. Some of us talked about why MIH was so important, MIH3 was so important. And so the compromise at that May meeting was, okay, well, what if we map both 1 and 3 at the same time? So that's what the motion maker said. And somebody said, wait, are you saying both? And he said, yeah, I'm saying both. And then it was seconded, everybody voted, and that's what passed. And I imagine that was written down into the.
But even before that, wasn't there
But they have it in writing, that's what she's telling me.
the amendments in the Brooklyn Museum, right? In the Brooklyn Children's Museum, that amendment that got passed, did it have MIH3 in it?
This board has never wavered from MIH3.
Yes.
So in that document also had the new one that Ms. Mitchell raised earlier today, the 3.5.
Yes.
With the increase.
Yes. So there is written documentation of MI3.
Okay, so we're gonna have one last question, it's the lady in the back.
Okay, I just want to, it's a two-part question. Part one is for you and part two is for the gentleman there. You're saying that when you attach these minutes, the question that she is asking, part of that she's asking was written down, will be in those minutes that you attached?
We can make that happen.
Okay. And the second question is dealing with the AMI. Are you saying it's tied to the zoning regulation as it applies to each community? Because in Brownsville, I know there's recent housing that went up and it reflected the AMI of the working class people who were in that section.
No, it's a very good question, and I've been doing affordable housing for many, many years, and it's a complicated thing. So AMI is set by the federal government. It's the same for the whole city. What you're probably referring to in terms of what happened in Brownsville is probably one of the HBDs of the Department of Housing and Preservation, subsidized development, that's an affordable project. Those projects, they go by AMI, but there's a range of AMIs, and there's a lot of ability for the city or the Department of Housing to set what the actual rents are for that building. And what they typically do is they typically cater more to the communities that they serve. So what you'll see is buildings in Brownsville will have deeper affordability, otherwise lower AMIs than maybe a building in Long Island City or Grand Heights. But that's not that they're using a different AMI. It's that they're setting rents that are particular to that building and particular to that community.
Mr. Tucker.
And they're using a range of AMIs.
So it is possible to challenge these regulations with regard to AMI.
Oh, you're talking about citywide, so we have the ability for financing a building.
Yeah.
To set rents, not however we want to, but a larger range of rents, and some communities can be more affordable and deeper affordable than others.
And so that's the answer to the
We
young
can't
lady's
do
question.
that though necessarily in the zoning resolution unless it's in that citywide text. So that's what I'm saying. Like,
But
it's
it
a
has
citywide
happened.
policy, and then we have to do it as a citywide action in zoning. Versus if you're just financing a building, you can make that building cater to the local community, assuming that it works just right.
Mrs. Stroud, thank you so much for being here. We didn't expect it. Thank you for the information and the news that you brought. Thank you. Mr. Whittaker.
Like to make a motion?
Second.
Well then, do I have the floor?
If you say second.
I know. To rename Community Board A after, whereas Community Board A originally voted to support the mapping of both MIH options 1 and 3 in AMUP, Community Board 8 supports a text amendment to resolve this oversight by mapping MIH options 3 to 1 to the CB8 portion of AMUP. And I'm welcoming any and all of these.
Can you say we modify the language to request the text amendment?
Instead of supports?
Yes. We request the text amendment of the city council and the department.
request a text amendment
Of the Department of City Planning and the City Council.
from the Department of City Planning and the City Council.
And I don't think you guys should include and modify, because Councilwoman Hudson doesn't think there was an issue. So it's a new request.
I didn't say my, I said CBA originally voted to support the mapping of both MIH options 1 and 3 in AAMUP. CBA requests a text amendment from the Department of City Planning and the City Council to resolve this oversight.
Oversight is the word, oversight, yes.
To map MIH options 1 and 3. Well, we can only speak for CBA.
We haven't seen it.
So, whereas CBA originally voted to support the mapping of both MIH options 1 and 3 in AAMUP, CBA requests a text amendment from the Department of City Planning and the City Council to map MIH options 1 and 3 to the CBA portion of AAMUP.
I think that's sufficient, because you're mentioning that this was discussed already, and then we're now asking for this text amendment.
Can I amend just a little bit, just so that we can date, as to when we actually did that, just because CBA actually has always said, MIH option 3. It was only upon GSA and Crystal Lexington coming to us that we ended up agreeing and mapping and including option 1. Do you know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Yeah.
Do you accept that?
I'll change the word originally to in May 2025.
Thank you, yes. Just because we originally always kept that,
We need to revisit the minutes for the May meeting, I think doing the mayor, obviously.
Absolutely, okay. You ready for the vote?
Everyone clear on the motion?
Just call roll.
Leah Adu.
Yes.
Sharon Alexis Pierre.
Yes.
Isaac Andino.
Yes.
Gail Branch Mohammed.
Yes.
Barbara Cofield. Tamika Gibbs has left us. Mohammed Hassan has left us. Tafari John King.
Yes.
Jennifer Jordan. Francis Langley.
Yes.
Bobby LaPointe. Yes. Dr. Sarah Lazo.
Yes.
Lisa Maldonado.
Yes.
Mimi Mitchell.
Yay!
Leora Ortiz Jr.
Yes.
Maria Pepe. Yaya Raji. Mr. Raji has left us. Anika Roach. For Roth and this Joe left us. Leslie Steele, Declan Tainter.
Yes.
Mark Thurton.
Yes.
Brian Tucker.
Yes.
Desmond Turnbull. Rita Hua.
Yes.
Kip Piconi.
Yes.
Regina Watson. Kim Watson. Irsa Witherspoon.
Yes.
Sharon Wedderburn.
Yes.
Regina Wilson.
Yes.
Robert Witherwax, yes. Deborah Young.
Yes.
The motion passes. 25 in favor, unanimously once again.